Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dudes and dudettes, the sexy and the not so sexy, big children and little. I am the novelist, author, poet. I think you know. Why don't you introduce yourself and you let the people know who you are?
Camille Iman.
Nice.
Core simple.
Nice. My goal here today is really unspecified. My goal was really to rap and break bread with you in an environment where we left the door open and kind of let God in and just see what happens. And this is an exercise in trust and faith personally for me, because I am putting my ego in the passenger seat, and I know that to get people something real, something raw, something honest, something that they can subscribe to, is that I can't do it by myself. Bottom line, you know what I mean? And there are plenty of soldiers, generals, commanders, empresses in this fight against the insincere that we have here, that are dying, itching to jump into war and help those who have an honest, fresh, sincere perspective and give them a voice. So I figured, instead of me interviewing everybody for Just My Thoughts testimonials, why don't I find the most no-nonsense person I could freaking find who's down to ride and give her the keys? How do you feel about that whole process?
I think we've already started it.
Okay. Off camera, we were talking about how you came up and what brought you to this person you are, this manifesto. What stuck out to me was how you were raised and that environment, you know, and your cousins and or brothers. You care to share a little bit of that upbringing?
Yeah. So I'm a third generation college student.
Okay.
And I was raised in a house with my mother, who's a pharmacist, and my father, who's a nurse now. He used to work in pharmaceutical sales, but like to a full health household.
Okay. Two healthcare professionals. Okay.
Two healthcare
little healing
professionals.
Action going on.
A little bit.
From the jump.
More than I wanted.
Okay.
But you know that's my immediate family. But my larger family I was raised with, all boys. So you know, at the level that I'm at, the grandkids level. You know, we all sit at the grandkids.
Right.
There's me, and then there's 3 boys.
Okay.
And so I kind of, from the time that I was very little, kind of was raised kicking and screaming, as I like to call it.
Right.
You know, raised really just asserting who I am from a very small age, of just having to kind of put myself in the arena, like ensure that I am there.
Yeah, well, you had to compete with a lot of young testosterone, so.
Okay, that's a polite way to call it, sure. You know,
right.
You know, asserting myself in the arena, but then also, you know, keeping myself there, right? Proving that I belong there.
Okay.
That's really been a part of who I am, and some of that has been self-propelled. Like, I highly doubt that the young boys that I grew up with, who are now men, would be like, "Yeah, we put her to the test." Like,
right. They may try to take credit, but
every once in a while they might have pushed my buttons, but they were just being themselves.
Okay.
But you know, for me, it was a matter of always making sure that I was there, because if I wasn't, I'd be by myself, or you know, trying to figure out what it meant to be a human being on my own. You know, so. Putting myself, as far as family is concerned, like with community, meant crossing lines of difference, and really kind to create connection anyway, or maybe anyway is not the word, like with.
Gotcha. Sometimes there are words and then there are better words.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, with is definitely, I would say that. Okay, now in my vision, And I totally understand that in this act of faith and trust, that I actually implore you to make it your own vision, right? So the core, the blueprint, if you will, is like, okay, how can everyone has a journey, right? Mm-hmm. And everybody has that tipping point. My desire is to capture the tipping point, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you're a super humble, fifth level of consciousness, you hella woke, you're doing all of these cool things for the community and all of that stuff. Of course you did it. You weren't born that way. So where were you, and what was the tipping point or the testimony, of what got you to this place? So I'll ask you, and you may not want to even share that on camera, and that's okay, but you're at this part where you're just like, okay, I'm no nonsense, I want to cut to the chase, where's the truth at, where's the truth at, where's the truth at, right? So
I like the repetition.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They never answer.
Yeah. So, where were you before then? Who was that Camille Iman that if you ladies met on the street, you'd be like, man, we look exactly alike, but we are not the same. Where were you? And there was probably many tipping points, but what tipping point sticks out in your mind? Where were you, and what tipping point sticks out in your mind?
Yeah. So my family, being the only girl, my family has a very strong understanding of gendered roles, right? Like boys do this.
Okay.
Girls do this, or why should I say women do this, men do this? Yeah. But I was very much raised that way, and so I was always trying to integrate myself into this community of young boys. Right. My family was always trying to take me out, if you will, or always trying to, impose difference on me. Okay. And so that was always peculiar to me. I grew up trying to make sense of it because many of the things that they wanted me to do, I had no internal motivation. I was like, why am I doing this? Right. I wanted to climb trees and do whatever, they were doing. And they would make me climb a tree in a big poofy Easter dress. Well, no one else had on a big poofy Easter dress. And so I was always very concerned. I was like, this is not match for tree climbing,
Right. It's picturesque. It makes for a good music video.
It gets holes in it and dirty.
Right, but
it just never really went with me, this idea of the young girl that they were, asking for or expecting or inscribing or setting up. Right. And I always had disjunction with that. And I think that kind of really stayed with me for a while. I was and I think that I developed anger around it as a kid, that I was always kind of expected to do all of these things that to me were really nonsense. I'll give an example. My family thought that I was essentially too masculine as a kid. I would sit like this,
Right. Well,
climb trees and crap. And so my family put me in etiquette classes.
Wow. Okay.
Put me in modeling classes.
Okay.
And
they were trying to grow you up.
They were really trying to feminize.
Right, they were trying to grow you up.
They were trying to say, why don't you know how to set the 3 forks on the left and 2 spoons on the right and eat very dainty, and you gotta stop chewing like that, and you just
wow. Okay.
And so I really came to a place where I kind of had this half imposed femininity and this half I don't fuck with this shit, because half of me accepted that. I was like, well, I'm a girl. I'm like all the other women in my family. This is what we're doing. This is what they're teaching me. I want to be like my mom. I want to be like my grandma. I want to be like all these people that I admire. And this is what they say I need to do. So I'm gonna do it. Okay. But I also always had this. But I don't like it. But it doesn't make sense. But it's not me, And so it's these conflicting motivations. And I don't really think that until I really got older that I really grew into just being the full me and not necessarily trying to fit the standard, because, you know, although it started kind of, for me, it started in my house, it's like that everywhere. You know, I'd go on dates and men be like, well, why aren't you ordering a salad? But I don't want a goddamn salad. You know, or like, you know, people would ask me, you know, essentially pose a question and be like, yo, like, why aren't you this woman?
And now,
right?
Now let me capture that. It sounds like a part of the tipping point was actually this sort of trigger. And anytime somebody tried to impose who they thought you were supposed to be, then it would just be like, no. And that kind of escalated to this point where you were just like, let me define who I am, and then finding this kind of freedom in that, like, wow, I am, you know what I mean? And then the joy of just being comfortable in your own skin must have been like the first, like, crack, almost like a drug, right? You know what I mean? Where you're no longer worried about anybody's idea of who you are.
I don't know if I just didn't understand it.
Okay.
You know, I didn't understand why, like, it was like all these people who were like, we love you just the way you are, now put on this dress. You know, I was like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just never made sense. It was untrue.
Okay.
You know, it never made sense to me, like, how it was set up. You know, there was never a time where I was like, oh, I'm less girl because I don't want to do that. Because I always had to assert myself on who I am since the time I was a very young child. And so I knew, you know, I'm Camille Iman, but they keep putting Camille Iman in this dress thing, you know? And they keep making Camille Iman carry this little fork. And, like, I don't understand why they make me do these puppet things. And to some extent, you know, I think I developed, before I became comfortable and like, oh, I understand, like, this is society, you know, before I got there, you know, I think I accepted that I just need to perform this way to be like a woman. Like, this is just how it is, you know. Right. But, you know, I think that I got to a certain point where I realized that many of the women who were performing such things in and outside of my family, it wasn't a, like, essential part of them, and it wasn't necessarily benefiting them. Right. Many of them, it was hurting them. It didn't. And so, yeah, it was like I was like very attached to whether or not it was like an intrinsic truth for me to do this thing that people kept asking me to do that I had no motivation to do. And like throughout my experience of life, I was always kind of investigating it, like really trying to figure out, like, because the poofy dresses didn't stop after I was 2 at Easter. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Like, people still are like, can you perform this way?
Do you find that in the poetry realm too?
Yeah. I mean, we're the performers,
right? Exactly.
You know, the most performing performers.
Right. Okay.
You know, we're the actresses and actors outright.
Yeah,
you know?
and I've heard a million critiques in a million different ways, and at the end of the day, I feel a poet's job is just really, did you communicate your idea effectively? Did you get the exactly? Did I communicate the thought, no matter how abstract, no matter what angle I take? Did you do that? I heard you talk about passion, and I heard you talk about motivation. What motivated you ultimately to want to undergo this project with us?
Well, I personally try and have conversations that sort of like mimic what you were talking about, is like the heart of testimony. Right. You know, I try and have those conversations just in general. Okay. And many of them have brought me to a place where they've given me enough reflection to really kind of move to this next step with myself. Like, they've been kind of pivotal moments in my, like, understanding of what it means to be a person on earth. Okay. And, you know, being able to listen and collaborate with the lives of others, you know, through voice has really helped me to become and to be, and to like inscribe practices of like, okay, this is what I am on the inside. This is all the ideas, but this is how you do it, right? And so a lot of those conversations have helped me to do that, and to come to a place where I could like do that more actively, like sit down and have conversations with people intentionally and actively that are shared, that kind of align with that practice. You know, was like, oh yeah, sign me on. Because many of those conversations I was having, they were never something that I was sitting down and trying to do intentionally or on purpose. It was just something that really happened.
Something that happened organically.
Yeah, but I find that when you do something with intention, you know, they become more like powerful, right? Like when you do it on purpose, it makes a difference. And I felt like, you know, this testimony framework really invited me to do this thing on purpose.
Nice.
And you know, that was important to me and seemed like an opportunity that I needed and was provoked to invest in. So yeah, that's why I'm here.
Okay, now off camera we was talking, we got on the subject of jazz, and as you were sitting here laying your game down quite flat, I was thinking about or actually envisioning you also interviewing musicians and the jazz process. Is that something that you think that you will incorporate in as we go on?
I'll interview anyone I come across or meet or is brought to me that has a testimony that need to be shared. I find that, you know, commonly with artists, they're personally invested in articulating what that looks like.
Absolutely.
You know, and so I'm sure that there will be many artists that come across my way, and you know, I've had many personal connections with musicians, and so I certainly wouldn't be surprised if the people that I meet who need to sit in the seat, you know, play an instrument of some kind.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that they'll be limited to that. I mean, it'll be so much bigger than that, so much broader than that, you know, and really dependent on journey.
Indeed.
So yeah, I would say.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dudes and dudettes, the sexy and the not so sexy, big children and little. This is episode 2 of Just My Thoughts Testimonials, and just after episode 1 with my man Be Free, it came to my understanding that I was just like, I am going to step behind the camera. I'm going to step behind the camera. I'm going to get my Quentin Tarantino on. I'm going to get my director on, and I'm going to leave. Just again, faith. I'm just going to be like, boom, here's the keys, here's the ship. You know what I mean? You know, I got insurance. You know, keep it with the speed limit. If you must speed, just don't let me know. You know what I mean? And you do what you do. I'm personally hugely excited over this. I believe this is, you go with this project like peanut butter goes with jelly. You know what I mean? And it's just dope. One of the people we spoke about off camera that I'm excited for you to interview is my man Acronyms. I'm going to try to get acronyms for episode 3. That would be really dope. Is there anything before you and I wrap up our conversation that you want to tell people as far as other parts of a vision that you may have that we didn't discuss today? The other places that you want to take it, or something that you say, you know, because I know what I would see, for example, is, let's say you're interviewing, and in this very seat that we're at, there's this trumpet player, right? You know, and he may not necessarily, or she may not necessarily be the biggest linguist there ever was, you know what I mean? But he might make the song cry, you know, hashtag Jay-Z, you know what I mean? And he or she may just want to just play. You know what I'm saying? Is that something you would be down with?
Yeah, you know, I don't think everybody's vision has to be shared just how I share mine. You know, the best way that they can communicate their journey, you know, if that's their prerogative, and I would invite them to do such. You know, I just want to have conversations in whatever form that are authentic and honest,
Indeed.
and I actually find that, part of that honesty is being able to communicate with others, like, like, I need to say this like this, right? Like, I need this space, I need this time, like, I need this instrument, I need this day, I need this setting, to really say what I need to say. And I appreciate that and I respect that, because it takes a lot as a person to come into a place where you know what you need and you can go get it in order to really be your full self.
Right.
And so, yeah, I would say that most definitely, whatever is needed to be the most authentic, I'll be making space for it. So.
Authentic. And I'm glad you said that, because on a personal level, I wanted to stay away from the promo tour. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, this artist, this band, this comedian, this actor, I'm about to come out with a project, right? And it becomes this very corporate feel. All right, let me do my promo tour. I'm about to release a project. I want to have attention to that project, and boom. And then everybody sits on the late night TV couch. Ha ha ha, he he he. Love, love, love. Fake love, fake love, fake love. Go see my movie, go buy my album, come to the show, right? And after you spend your money on the movie tickets, the theater tickets, or whatever, or the download, then you don't see that girl, that guy for another few years until it's time for the next project. Okay, so if that's why we're here, and if I can't trust the messenger, should I trust the message? So when you're having this truth of truth with Jimmy Fallon, Camille Iman, or whoever, you know what I mean? How sincere is the testimony? Because it just come up with source energy behind it. You follow what I'm saying? We're here for an agenda. Fuck all that. You know what I mean? Okay? You know what I mean? Let's just, you and I have a conversation. Where that conversation goes, it goes. And whatever I feel like sharing is the honor. This is really where I'm at. Because I'm only want to come here to talk to you.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's my view of it.
No, I appreciate it. Having a really purpose-driven conversation, right? Like, we are here with an intent, let's stay on it,
Yes.
And if what you got is with that intent, by all means, welcome, right?
Ooh, you see how the bell went off when you said that? Oh.
But, if you off purpose, you could leave that at home, right? Like, I feel like, I don't know, I'm a very purpose-driven person. Like, I don't want to spend my time doing things that have nothing to do with why I was put on earth. Like, if you want me to spend my time on earth, that is a gift. Doing things that have nothing to do with why I am here, I am not interested. And really being focused on that, because what I've noticed is people really will ask you to get off path.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't have time. I don't have time.
Time is precious.
So, getting people who are in tune with that, and willing to share and think that it's important, and I think that's really kind of the underbelly of the mission of Testimony, if you will. Like, really just saying, like, we're going to put intent and time and effort into really trying to memorialize the journey, So I agree with you,
Well, on behalf of the wonderful staff at gbleu.com, I want to welcome Camille Iman on board. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody in between, this may seem like some sort of interview, but it's not. She already had the job. I just wanted to show y'all why she's here. We out of here. Thank you so much. That was fucking fire. God almighty. Oh, that was dope. Oh!
Yeah, that's a good sign.
Oh, no, bitch. Oh! Oh, I love catching lightning in the bottle. Thank you.